So it's bush hogging day. Finally got some rain yesterday. Oh my God, it's been so dry, but the bummer part is that I think it's still going to be dry for a while now that we got that maybe, I don't know, half inch, maybe an inch of rain yesterday. There's basically no rain in the forecast again, at least for a week. So before it gets totally freaking dusty and nasty, I'm gonna bush hog what I can, some stuff that I really see from the main trails that we drive through, and that'll make me feel a little bit better. It's probably 70 something now, so it's warming up, but I think this week is supposed to be better for us. That rain yesterday was basically a cold front, but I tell you, the heat, man, it's been rough. Speaking of the weather, I know I bring it up a lot, and I guess it's just because here in Florida it's just so freaking hot, and it's hard to do, or I mean, it feels like it's hard to do farm stuff in the summer. We do it anyway, but I guess it's, you know, like guys in Texas with ranches and you know, elsewhere that gets hot too. But we get, the problem is here we get just not hot. We get freaking nasty humidity, literally near 100% most of the summer, and that makes that basically changes the dynamic, where instead of feeling like it's whatever 90, it actually feels like it's 100, and it's just a bummer. But you know, allows you to do summer stuff, which I guess is cool, but just really gets old. But anyway, with that said, and I know I did a video a week or so ago and we finished the new horse pasture, and I mentioned that I was actually wearing a jacket. That was the morning that we actually felt like wearing a jacket. Well, this morning was the first morning that, I mean, it actually, you walked outside and you're like, well shit, let me close the door, because it actually was like that. I mean, it was I think in the 50s, and for us that's a pretty big deal. But you know, it's now October, I don't know, last week October, almost last week October, and you know, this is the time of year that I spend bush hogging the areas that I have not gotten to through the summer, and really these areas only get it once a year, because it's just too damn much work. I mean, we probably have, I don't know, maybe 50 acres of bush hoggable area, or the areas that need to be bush hogged. And, you know, you just can't do that all the time, or else all you would do is bush hog, and it beats me to death, so I can only do it so much. So anyway, I do the main areas of this farm when it's, or where it actually gets used and seen most, like around the barns and that kind of thing, and the garden and the chicken coop or pumpkin patch and the lake. But now I'm getting those areas that I don't normally get, and that's fine, because now I can cut this stuff down and at least have about 6 months where everything is, you know, kind of looks manicured and nice. So that's what I'm all about. But this year has been a little different, because it's just been so dry, at least for about the past 2 months. We've been in extreme drought conditions and no burn warnings and all that stuff. So, and I know a lot of the rest of the country has as well. But we got, as I mentioned earlier, that little bit of rain yesterday, half inch, maybe an inch, and that, you know, makes an impact, no doubt, but it hadn't solved the problem, and I assume we're still under a no burn. It was funny. We woke up yesterday morning, and we had the Oktoberfest party the night before. So yesterday morning we woke up, and we looked across the lake, and somebody was burning several big piles between their house and the lake. And I mean, look, shit, at first you thought their house was on fire, but they were burning while it was raining, which is, of course, smart, and that's what I do quite a bit. The only trick there is just getting if you can get the fire started, which if it's been sitting there long enough and you got some kind of lighter, or, whatever, you can get it going. And that way you just know it's not going to get out of hand, and there's not going to be a problem. Pretty much, I've never heard of it getting out of hand while it's raining, but I guess anything's possible. And had we not been kind of recovering from Oktoberfest party, that's exactly what I would have done. And man, I've got a massive pile, I mean the size of a house size pile just about, and a couple smaller ones that have been laying around for quite some time, actually since probably a year or more. And I'm so ready to get those gone, and I'm going to. But although conditions were good yesterday, just wasn't happening. But it'll rain again, supposedly, and when it does, I'll hopefully be ready and throw a match to it and get that done. And now that another part of that is, now that I have an excavator here all the time, that gives me a much better sense of security that I can deal with something if it were to get out of hand. And plus I can restack the fire and roll it and all that stuff better than I can just with the tractor. So I will be that much more inclined to do it. Just need a little bit more rain, and I'm sure it's coming. But the crazy part is that generally when we really get a drought is more like November. So we're just now coming into when it should be dry, instead of, or possibly in addition to the fact that it's already been so dry. So what are we going to do? It'll work out. I mean, what the real question for me becomes, and I sit here and ponder this more than I should, I'm certain, but, is it worth, packing up, liquidating, moving to a climate that is more mild, moderate? I mean, most of my life I've been here in Florida, almost all my life for sure. I've been in the South with a couple very short exceptions. And it's like I keep building and adding and buying more land and build more barns and stuff like that. And sometimes I think, do all this, and I kind of almost tell myself I enjoy it like 6 months of the year, and the other 6 I kind of just get through it. And I try to have not that attitude. I actually try to say, I don't feel that way, and I don't complain normally, but every once in a while I'm just thinking, is this, why do we just make ourselves live maybe we're in less than ideal conditions, when actually we could live somewhere that, you know, isn't that way. I mean, simple as that. Because I certainly could move. I mean, I'm mobile. Nothing's really tying me down. Friends and family, of course, which are hugely important. But I don't know. It occurs to me, but I assume I will do absolutely nothing about that. And I don't even know if I'd be happy if I did. I thought about having like a little place like up in Tennessee or North Carolina or something, or even just North Georgia, somewhere cooler to escape during the summer. But, I'm blessed with a lot of friends and some family around. And I don't know that that's, once I get there, I went through that mental exercise one time, and it just seemed like I feel like I would get there and be like, well, okay, here I am. My wife and I and kids would come visit. But, it'd be like, well, I wonder what's going on back home. So if that being the case, how stupid is that to not just stay where you're at? And I fully also assume that there's probably a damn good chance that the grass is always greener. Buddies that move from northern climates where it really is cold, and they're not, I mean, even the summer, they're not hardly hot. But they spend their winters shoveling their cars out of their driveway and, dealing with busted pipes and stuff that, I'm sure it sucks. And so apparently it does, because they come here to Florida and they're just happy all the time about how freaking hot it is. And they, I don't know how many times I've heard, oh man, it's Christmas Day and I'm wearing flip-flops and shorts. And if you're from here, we're always kind of like, oh man, this sucks. I wish it was snowing or something to be more seasonal like. But people that have been up there, man, they want nothing. They're just so happy that they're sweating. So, grass is always greener. And I have said on more than one occasion that most likely guys like me probably should go live in Pennsylvania or somewhere for about a month in February, and it would probably cure all these questions.